Eh, 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 eh. Okay, someone is wondering why is praise dancing this early morning? Okay, because I have landed in another country, and this time around, I'm inside Antigua and Barbuda. Okay, inside Antigua and Barbuda family life. We're still on 196 days around the world of family life, in which we're going through every nation of the world and trying to understand their family life culture. Well, today we landed in Antigua and Barbuda, and I'm going to be exploring the family life 6 fun facts you need to understand. Well, Antigua and Barbuda, by the way, I love the music and it makes me dance. It's like rock and roll, like samba kind of thing. Well, Antigua and Barbuda is an independent Commonwealth country comprising its two namesake islands and several smaller ones, positioned where the Atlantic and the Caribbean meet. Is known for reef-lined beaches, rainforest, and a resort. Very, very romantic place. Okay, very similar to Bahamas, right? It's about 91% Black Africans who were descendants of Africans taken for slave trade to farm sugar plantation. Okay, the culture is predominantly a mixture of West African and British culture influence. Right. Now, what are the 6 fun facts you need to know about Antigua and Barbuda? Number one, they have what we call the mixed family systems, which means patterns of marriage, family organization, and gender roles are similar to those in West Africa, thereabout with minor local adaptation. But you see, it's a mixture of European, American, and a bit of West Africa. Much the same is true of the middle classes, except for the greater presence of local adaptation. Among the black working class, family life is much more of a mixture of African and European system. Like many African families, according to culture.com, these Creole families are matrifocal, centering on the mother's lineage with strong tradition of women working outside of their home. There are, as a result, very high rates of labor force participation for Antiguan and Barbudan women. So it's not our place to see a lot of women work, out of their home, instead of babysitting, unlike the other countries that we have been to. Here, women work. Maybe that has a history in the fact that, slave trade, everyone worked. Women didn't stay at home, everyone worked in the sugar plantation. But this culture has been sustained over time. Number two, the Creole culture dominates. Now, culturally, influences from three groups, namely West Europeans, West African, along with significant input from Native American combined to become what we call the Louisiana Creole culture. So you find the Creole culture in Antigua and Barbuda, kind of, well, it was a place where class, not race, determined social status, where rural life conformed to rigid discipline, where human bondage created wealth, where adherence to family business and tradition was paramount, where women ran businesses and owned property. Such an interesting culture, where democratic ideals and individualism were held in concept, and where until 20th century people spoke French and lived this way, separated from the dominant white Anglo-Saxon Protestant American culture. Now, that is basically what the Creole culture is all about originally from its purest point of view. But when it comes to the Creole culture of this particular Antigua and Barbuda, is very, very much like the Louisiana Creole culture. But this time around, they speak English. English is a major language here, and basically because they were colonized by the British, right? Unlike the Louisiana that was colonized by the French, for the Antigua and Barbudan people, they were colonized by the British, so they speak a lot of English, and you can find a bit of pidgin in what they say. But interesting place, the same Creole culture is the same everywhere. Actually, Creole is a mixture of the black Africans and a bit of the white European culture kind of. Now, number three, there's the Marriage Act and the religious rules in Antigua and Barbuda. There's a marriage act that specifies what is required to get married, and it renders null and void marriages for people under the age of 18. All applicants must be over the age of 18 years old, kind of. Now, if you're under, then written parental consent must be obtained. But it's very, very rare where you have, younger people getting married in Antigua and Barbuda. Now, the Marriage Act is heavy on religious space of the country, which is predominantly Anglican. So Anglicanism actually rules in Antigua and Barbuda. I think about 71% thereabout are Anglicans. Of course, if you were ruled or led by the British government, the Church of England, which is the Anglican Communion, will hold sway. So if you want to be an effective family life practitioner, you may find strong expression within Anglicanism. So you may actually be able to function within the church professionally, providing solutions to marriages in case you want to work in this amazing country. Number four, there is a bit of gender equality, of course, because predominantly many of the descendants were slaves who worked in the sugar plantation. So, I mean, they never talked about gender disparity. As slaves, everybody worked. Now, so women account for the large majority of employment within tourism and government sector in Antigua and Barbuda. In the government sector, for example, over 60% employment and account for the majority of directors and managers in that sector. Women are highly respected and valued, even though there are still pockets of domestic violence thereabout, but it's not as bad as in other countries. And watch this, 90% literacy rate in Antigua and Barbuda. So if you want to work there, you need to be ready to meet independent-minded women, and you meet also men who are independent minded. So you can imagine the kind of marital problems they will be having, and they're likely going to have, because women make money, men make money in Antigua and Barbuda. So you need to find a way to create an intervention that can help them and that can help them work together. Now, number five, gender-based violence is outlawed in Antigua and Barbuda. Antigua and Barbuda accede to the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women on 1st August 1999 and ratify the Inter-American Convention on the Prevention, Punishment, and Eradication of Violence Against Women on the 19th of November 1998. Antigua and Barbuda has a legal obligation to protect women and girls from domestic violence and sexual violence, including sexual harassment. So it's a major law. It's not unusual to see law enforcement officers convicted for rape and the law takes its course. I've seen it happen where a policeman was jailed for sexual harassment in Antigua and Barbuda. It's a country in the Caribbean that is very close to America. So, they feed a lot from America, even though they were colonized by the British government. Now, in spite of that, the domestic violence in Antigua is of a systemic nature. You will hardly see it, but somehow people are socialized to normalize and accept these patterns. Of course, with a background from West Africa, there are homes where it happens and they say, well, maybe it's his weakness, and he's a good person, where people make excuses. But it's not as pronounced, but it's a bit systemic and it happens. Number six, LGBT is outlawed, but this country is very close to America. But LGBT is outlawed in Antigua and Barbuda. Of course, you can understand that many of the influence, feeds from Anglicanism, so in this country, and we respect every country for what they believe for now. LGBT persons in Antigua and Barbuda face legal challenges not experienced by non-LGBT citizens. The penal code makes same-sex acts illegal with a punishment of up to 15 years in prison, but the law is not enforced. It doesn't mean they don't exist. It just means that they can't come out legally like they do in some other countries. It also does not address discrimination or harassment on account of sexual orientation or gender identity, nor does it recognize same-sex union in any form. So if you want to work as a family life professional in Antigua and Barbuda, it's a good place to be, especially if you are a Christian. I don't know the Muslim population in that country, but I mean, it's predominantly a Christian population. So it's not unusual to hear streets, named after saints and what have you, but amazing place, lovely beaches. So if you want to go work there, please feel free to go. But please make sure you're certified to do what you want to do and enjoy the beaches. Don't just overwork yourself. Now, what do you think we can improve, and how do you think we can improve family life in Antigua and Barbuda, and how can you assist families in that country? Especially with the state of divorce rising, what do you think we need to do? What intervention will you create to assist the families in Antigua and Barbuda. Well, if you want to equip yourself and you want to be certified to be a family life professional using tools that can cross across different culture, you can visit school.impressforward.com. You have courses there. Family System Engineering Certification is the one that's recommended for you. Or you follow me on IG Live at the Family Life Therapist, and please click on the subscribe button on my YouTube channel. I hope I have helped you. Enjoy yourself. I will go to another country tomorrow. Till then, keep loving, keep living, and know that we are family life professionals and we are the ones who save our world. Okay, so can we have some more dance from Antigua and Barbuda? Okay, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's